My name, if I used my full name, would be Pamela Norris Taylor Bishop Lewis. But after marrying my husband, Donald Eugene Lewis, I dropped two name changes. So my name now is Pamela Norris Lewis. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I married a former NFL football team member who had promised to love me and take care of me and provide for me. But instead of those things that he promised, what I got was emotional abuse, psychological abuse, some financial withholding during a brief period when I was a housewife because he earned enough money so I didn't have to work. But then I decided I needed to have my own money because it just made sense not to have to ask for what seemed to be an allowance because I was grown. He constantly, physically, did not abuse me. He constantly, emotionally and psychologically abused me. If ever I went out to church or did things with my mother and sister, when I would get back home and he would get home, I would always be accused of being places that I never heard of with comments like, yeah, I heard you were at such and such and you were, excuse my language, dick watching. Constantly. I went so far as to have Jehovah's Witnesses come to my house for Bible study instead of me going to my church for Bible study because I didn't want to be accused of being places that I hadn't heard of. So I started to isolate myself so that I would not be accused. And even in that didn't stop the where have you been or the calling during the middle of the night because he would be out somewhere saying, I'll be home in a few. And I never knew what a few was. It could be a few hours, and then it went from a few hours to a few days. This went on for about 7 years. He would say things like, I love you so much that if I can't have you, nobody will. And so being young, I thought that that was a loving compliment, but it really was a couched threat. And so after 7 years of this, one Memorial Day weekend, I sang with a group. We had just finished a performance on a Sunday. I was spending the night at the director's house because we were going to have a Memorial Day cookout. He showed up in the middle of the night to come get me. So as not to cause a scene, I left with him. We were driving home. He had been drinking. He stopped behind, at that time it was, I want to say, a Safeway, and he asked me something, and I said, I just want to get out of the car. So I opened the door to get out of the car, and he grabbed me by my hair and pulled me in. And I said, note to self, get haircut. And so when we got home, we were sleeping in separate rooms by this time. Not because I wasn't trying to make my marriage work, but because he was a smoker and I had started having sinus problems. And so I could not sleep in the bed where he had been smoking because I would end up very congested. So that particular night, I was in the other bedroom and I was laying on the floor because my back was hurting. So I would lay on the floor sometimes with my knees on the bed. And he came in and put a gun to my head and said, you're going to make love to me because it'll be the last time you make love to anybody. And I looked at him and said, I will not make love to you. At best, it would be marital rape. And if you don't kill me, I will go to the police and report it. And so he did not touch me, but he laid there on the floor next to me with a gun next to him. So the next day, I had, throughout the course of the years when he would be out and being accusatory and so forth, I would say, I'm tired of this, I'm not doing that, I'm tired of that. And at one point, I thought, well, maybe if I let him know that I loved him enough by either buying him things or doing things, he would feel and trust that my love for him was genuine. And he kept on acting the way he did. And so when I would say I'm tired of this or I'm tired of that, after putting a gun to my head, I said, I'm tired of being tired. I'm out. At that point, I started putting a plan in place to leave and told him I would be leaving him October 1st. I started bringing home boxes, packing my things, labeling them, stacking them up neatly. I was still being respectful, still being a good wife. I just was planning to leave. And so October 1st, he helped me leave. And then Columbus Day weekend, he came to where I was living, and I was living with my mom temporarily. Left my house, my name was on the house, left my house. And he came over after having been drinking, looking for me with a gun, threatening my mother, as well as threatening me. He had gone to all the airport parking lots looking for my car so he could vandalize it, and the only lot he did not go to was lot B at Dulles, which is where my car was. God revealed himself to me because I was a Christian, and while people on my jobs would always come to me and, want some advice, and I could give them all the nice little platitudes like, God won't put any more on you than you can bear. You are beautiful. You need to repeat that to yourself every day. God didn't give you a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. But what really stood out for me, and I'm going to read it, was Psalms, and there were several, but I'm going to share with you Psalms 119, verse 116, and I hope I can see it without my glasses. We're going to be all right. 119, at least I got that far. Bless the Lord. And verses 116 and the first part of 117 that said, sustain me according to your word, that I may live, and do not let me be ashamed of my hope. Uphold me, that I may be safe. And that's what all relationships should be, is a safe place. But when you're not in a safe place in a relationship, know that the God that you serve can uphold you until you are safe. Raw beauty is confidence. Raw beauty is strength. Raw beauty is transparent. I am Reverend Pamela N. Lewis, and I am Raw Beauty.